All right, hello, good evening. It's after 7 o'clock, and we're going to do an update regarding the explosion that happened in the Bronx earlier today. And obviously, I did cover it at the end of my crime video today, but we're going to get into this awful, awful story. In fact, it's actually making national headlines, believe it or not. You know, to think that the Bronx has been making national headlines for all the wrong reasons in the past 2 weeks, and just awful, very awful about this explosion. And like I've been hearing during the uh, during the day today, I actually heard from an NYPD source that the arson detective squad are going to look into the possibility that this could have been a gas explosion. Now, it's you don't want to speculate what could have caused the gas explosion, but I have heard from my sources. I'm not going to say where I have NYPD sources, but the arson squad has been called to this scene in the Bronx, which was expected. I had a feeling that as soon as I saw the word explosion came up on Firewire today, my first reaction was, I'm sure Commissioner Sewell is sending the arson squad immediately to this, and I got word later today that that was the case. So if Keach Sewell, the commissioner's watching, thank you very much for immediately sending the arson squad to this, because obviously the detectives are going to have to figure out where this explosion come from in the building. There's a lot of possibilities that the detectives can look into. So I would say if you live in this building, stay patient with them. And if they're asking to interview you, I would highly recommend to cooperate. Because if you don't cooperate with these detectives, you're just going to make it harder for them to even look to add the pieces to the puzzle. So let's get into the update from the Bronx Times. And I'm reading from the Bronx Times because they are a media affiliate with Schleps, who owns the Queens Courier, just like how they own the Brooklyn Paper. So let's read this. Bronx building exploded at the corner of Fox and Tiffany Street. Now, we looked at this location earlier today, and it was not too far from where the Bruckner is. It's happened in the Longwood section of the Bronx at 10:53 a.m. Tuesday, and officials are investigating whether it's related to a gas scent reported earlier in the morning. The FDNY responded to 869 Fox Street, so I'll put this up in a different tab, to a 2-alarm fire. This was a 2-alarm. And again, here's the location. This is where the location of the building was. And we're going to take a look to see what it looked like on Google Street View before the incident today. And this doesn't look like a bad building. It looks a little modernized for this part of the Bronx. And this is actually the most recent Street View Google got was back in October. So this is from 3 months ago. Wow, you got to give Google credit. Let's see how old the Street View is. If you go back to 2007. Yeah, I mean, this particular building in the Bronx looked like it aged very well, even in late 2021. Okay, so the FDNY again declared it within 4 minutes a major emergency. Firefighters sprayed water at the 3-story residence as dark smoke emerged from the windows and roof. Approximately 200 fire and EMS personnel responded. So, a spokesperson told the Bronx Times 3 civilians and 5 officers were hospitalized. A 77-year-old woman who was transported to Lincoln Hospital has been pronounced dead, and an 82-year-old along with a 68-year-old woman were in stable condition at Lincoln Hospital. 3 officers were admitted to Jacoby Medical Center, and 2 offers to Lincoln Center for smoke inhalation. At a press conference, let's see. So who's Hodges? I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, Chief John Hodges. Okay. Hodges said the woman who died was one of the two sisters who were living inside the building during the explosion and then found laying on the ground outside. The surviving sister is in serious condition. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said police officers carried out a woman who was trapped inside a burning building next door to the explosion. That woman, who is 68, has serious injuries but is expected to survive. So, the mayor was quoted saying today, "This tragic and frightening event after the inferno we saw just days ago just really adds to the pressure on the Bronx and all of those who experienced overcoming the issue." And of course, he was referring to the January 9th fire at the Twin Parks North building in Fordham Heights. And believe it or not, the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson, who just took office 2 weeks ago, succeeding longtime Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., was at the Fordham Heights fire site when she learned about the Longwood fire. So, it's looking like we're going back to that narrative of the 1970s and early 1980s when they said the Bronx was on fire. We're going back to that narrative, it looks like. It's very, very suspicious what's going on. Now, obviously, that fire in Fordham, remember, that was different circumstances. You got to remember, that was a space heater. We don't know what caused this explosion. And then I did find out around 3 o'clock from, again, an undisclosed NYPD source. And I'm not going to say who it was. I don't want to get criticized. But my source told me the arson squad was sent over. So that would make sense right here. Alright, so the gas was turned off in the building. That's what I also found out earlier from my source as well. The buildings that exploded are all destroyed and need to be demolished. 2 nearby buildings need structural work but can be saved. So, obviously, state level's going to get involved, but again, we're just going to take a look to see this location in the Bronx again. This is 869 Fox Street in the Bronx. Again, I'm a little bit familiar with this area due to the fact that, again, I know pretty much this area a little bit well. In fact, yeah, 41st Precinct. That doesn't surprise me. Because remember, in Fordham, the big fire that happened on January 9th, there was a police precinct near there too. So look at that. This is the area again. It's actually not too far from a decent park. I mean, it's small, but at least it's decent. I'm going to go quickly off topic for a second. We also got word earlier this afternoon, this was first reported by Bloomberg News, that the MTA is going to restore a majority of subway service that was affected by COVID staffing shortages due to the Omicron surge. So the good news is, it's about time that I am saying this. The service on the B and Z lines, along with express service on the J, 6, and 7 in the Rush Hour Rockaway Park branch of the A train, will be restored starting tomorrow. That is very good news, and this has been going on now for 2 weeks. These first changes started on January 5th. MTA Chairman and CEO Janel Lieber, who was set to be confirmed as permanent chairman tomorrow by the state senate, said the MTA was able to restore those lines because there has been a decline in train operator and conductor absences. The MTA continued to serve all stations on those routes throughout other subway lines while the service changes were in effect. However, W train service will still not run. So, in that sense, it's kind of a little bit disappointing that you're going to have to get to Lexington Avenue and 59th Street just to get further along those lower Manhattan W train stations. But at least the good thing is you still have the R train. So my main concern was the B line, because remember, the B runs express in Brooklyn. So that was the main reason why I was personally concerned about this issue. And the J, it's like, not the J, the Z. The Z, it's like, I mean, how many people really take it during rush hour? And then, at least there is some progress. Okay, so the good news is ridership is starting to level off a little bit. It's not going up, it's not going down. In fact, let's take a look at the ridership numbers for a second. Okay, that's a good idea. Let's see if we can take a look at the numbers. Okay, on the subway, what are we looking at? Okay. So it has been leveling. It's not too bad. Yeah, because right now, the highest amount of riders was actually tallied last Thursday, the 13th. Interesting. What about buses? I'm just curious about that. Then I'm going to wrap up this video. Okay, so bus ridership's around 1 million. It's not too bad. So before we wrap this up, I just want to quickly mention that Spectrum News did send a reporter over to the Bronx as soon as this story broke. Hang on, the video's not loading. Let me just put this on mute. Okay, hit play. Yes, so again, as soon as this broke, they did send a reporter. So I'll give Channel 1 credit. They're actually starting to cover notable stories in the past couple of days. So at least they're starting to get their act together a little bit. But that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Again, just an awful, awful story that happened in the Bronx today. And honestly, shame on Channel 1 to think that they could put schools up here. I mean, they really show their true colors at Channel 1. So that's it. Thank you for watching.